known for being abducted into the underworld by Hades, Persephone herself is actually quite a powerful figure that should not be underestimated. Even though her myth starts as being the helpless little maiden that needs rescue, it most certainly does not end there. Persephone's myth shows us the transformational journey that we go through when we face our own inner darkness. While Hades is the one initiating the transformation or being the cause for it, Persephone is the one who has to actually go through it, who has to experience it firsthand. Hello and welcome back. If you are new to the channel, my name is Jada. In this series, we're diving into the different archetypes of Greek mythology as a tool for self-discovery, to better understand the different parts of ourselves and how we might be able to enhance or improve those. If you haven't watched the introduction video yet, I'm gonna link it up above and down below. It gives you a better understanding on what this series is about. I am also going to link the playlist down below with the other gods, so you can watch those as well if you want. Basically what happens is Persephone gets abducted by Hades into the underworld. The moment that Demeter, her mother, figures out what has happened and where her daughter is, she goes to Zeus and demands that her daughter is returned to her. At the same time, Hades gets notice that Demeter is basically coming for her daughter and tricks Persephone into eating a few seeds of pomegranate to ensure that she had to stay in the underworld. Because by law, everybody that consumes something in the underworld must stay there and is not allowed to return anymore. However, since Demeter was the goddess of harvest and refused to let anything grow unless her daughter was returned to her, Zeus was kind of in a bind and had to find a compromise with the two parties. Because on one side, Persephone had consumed something in the underworld which basically tied her to the underworld. On the other hand, Demeter was responsible for feeding everyone, so if she just decided to go on a strike, it would basically lead to starvation. Because of that, Zeus decided that Persephone would spend part of the year in the underworld with Hades and the rest of the year in the upper world with her mother Demeter. What I find so fascinating about her myth is how she represents both dark and light. While usually the god usually has like one archetypal energy that can show in different ways, Persephone basically embodies two totally different energies. It's that of the light and the dark, and those two energies then again can show in different ways. These two sides of her is actually also shown in the change of her name. What a lot of people actually do not know is that Persephone is actually not her original name. Her original name is actually Corinne, which literally means the maiden. So this is her name that she had from up until the moment that she was abducted by Hades and ate those seeds of pomegranate. Only after she returns from the underworld, she becomes Persephone, queen of the underworld, and literally the meaning, or one of the meaning that her name has been given, is the one who shall be feared, or even the bringer of destruction, highlighting her new energy as the queen of the underworld, who has also a lot in common with that of Hades, which is about transformation and change. So something old is going to die, so something new can be born. So looking at the different parts of her myth, we also get a better and deeper understanding of what she really represents. And it actually also starts with the abduction. There are different versions. One version says that she was in a field of flowers by herself. Hades saw her, took the opportunity and abducted her into the underworld. Another version says that Hades saw her, but instead went to Zeus and asked for Persephone's hand in marriage. The reason that he asked Zeus for permission is because Zeus is actually Persephone's father. However, Zeus responded that Hades was a powerful god in his own right and that he doesn't need permission from anyone and basically should just take whatever he wants. Which basically is what Hades ended up doing. He went on and abducted Persephone into the underworld. What is highlighted in both versions is the neglect or the absence of the parent. So with Zeus, it was either he wasn't present at all, or he just didn't take on the role of protecting his daughter. With her mother Demeter, on the other hand, it's actually quite interesting that she wasn't around, because throughout the myth of Persephone, but also from Demeter herself, it is mentioned over and over again how overprotective and doting she was of her daughter. So the fact that in that crucial moment she wasn't around to protect her highlights the importance of what can happen if we are not nurtured the right way. Let me explain this a little better. From this perspective, Hades represents the dark lures that we face when growing up. It can either be taken literally, like an innocent girl who gets swayed by some dark, mysterious man and abducted into the quite literally underworld and some sketchy business. But it can also be taken metaphorically when we start to indulge in negative and dark thoughts or self-destructive behavior. And the reason that we get to that point is because we are not sufficiently prepared for our lives by our caregivers, which is highlighted by the absence of both the parents in Persephone's case, like Zeus either wasn't around or didn't care, and Demeter was way overprotective and failed to actually prepare her daughter for the moments when she wasn't around. So on one side, Persephone was too naive, too ignorant to be aware of the dangers that were around us. On the other side, she was unprepared to defend herself from those forces. The next major part about her myth is that of her eating those seeds of pomegranate. As mentioned in the beginning, as soon as Hades found out that Demeter was coming for her daughter, he basically tricked her into eating those seeds. And it is in this very moment that the transformation happens and Kore becomes Persephone, the queen of the underworld. Now again, there are different versions. Some say that Persephone was not aware of what she was doing and was tricked and therefore trapped in the underworld, while other versions says that she was actually aware of what would happen if she ate those seeds, and she ate them regardless. Now, even though we have different meanings for the different versions, on one side, if we take the version where Persephone was not aware of the consequences, it highlights basically how we can be blinded or tricked into maybe even some shady business, as an example, because we are not aware and we are kind of naive. On the other side, if we are aware of the consequences and we still choose to eat the seeds, it can be a way of rebellion, of getting away from the mother in Persephone's case. However, regardless of which version we choose or look at, the consequences remain the same, which is actually even more important. And this is that Persephone was not able to fully return from the underworld up into the upper world, which basically highlights the fact that once we went through a transformation, there is no going back. So this part of her myth really represents the inner transformation that we go through when we face our inner darkness, but also when we come to know a certain truth. And once we know that truth, there's absolute no turning back. We cannot return to how things were before that. And as a consequence of what it is that we have discovered, it will inevitably change us forever. Now, the last part that maybe doesn't get mentioned as much, but is equally interesting, is the aftermath, like what happens after she becomes Persephone, the queen of the underworld. One thing that gets noted over and over again is the fact that Persephone ruled the underworld side by side with Hades as his equal. This is something that not even Hera, queen of the gods, could claim, because she was never equal to Zeus. Basically what it highlights is that as intense as the transformation might be, as equally as powerful we become. So the harder the challenge and transformation might be, it also shows us the potential of what we can gain in terms of personal growth. Just think about Persephone, how she went from an innocent, helpless little maiden to the actual queen of the underworld. So her shift was like huge. Once she went through that transformation, she basically had both energies or types of archetypes inside of her, that of the innocent little maiden, but also the one of the powerful queen of the underworld. A balanced Persephone shows herself as our willingness to grow and to change, to face our inner darkness and learn to know ourselves at our deepest core. It's also about the willingness to embrace both the light and dark aspects, not just in life, but also within ourselves, being able to embrace the things that might not be so nice about us. An overactive Persephone can show herself as us being over-identified with our shadow selves, where we are too much engaged with that part, where we start to neglect the joy and light side of life. We also have a tendency to immerse ourselves too deep in dark things, dark thoughts or behavior, or even drama, where we like constantly seeking drama. At the same time, it's also the part of ourselves that might resist to return to the lights, where we kind of stay maybe even in a victim mode where it's like, oh, everything is so heavy and everything, you know, those things are happening to me. So we refuse to rise again from the darkness that for self reason or maybe outside reason we ended up in. A suppressed Persephone, on the other side, is basically someone who is trapped in the Kore archetype, avoiding challenges, fearing change, and basically staying stuck in the version that we are right now. It's also about being too naive or innocent and overly dependent on someone else, and our inability to step into our own power. So it can also show as fear of adulthood, trying to avoid the responsibilities that comes when we grow up, and relying way too much on a parental figure to take care of ourselves. So our inability to basically manage our own life, or becoming overly dependent on a parental figure to solve our problems. So if Persephone is overactive in you, just reflect, where does your fascination for this dark part of yourself come from? Does it come from a desire to change and grow and transform parts of yourself? Are you actually growing from it, or are you using those parts to actually avoid an even deeper part of yourself that actually needs to be looked at? A great way is also about cultivating healthy relationships. A suppressed Persephone is actually all about taking steps in terms of self-development. So this could be things like journaling, therapy, taking a course, whatever challenges you to grow as a human being would help you strengthen the Persephone archetype inside of you. Other ways can also be things like taking charge of your own finances or leaving home, taking steps of becoming more independent and stepping more into your own power. At the same time, it's also about learning to face reality and face the truth. And this can mean by facing your inner demons or addressing an issue that you have been trying to avoid, a conflict with someone that you're like, I'm just not going to look at it, I'm just going to pretend it's not there. So strengthening Persephone is all about being like, no, I'm going to actually look at that part. So Persephone's story is one of transformation, resilience, and self-discovery, and she shows us that going through such a transformation is actually essential for us to be able to grow. And she basically shows us that we have everything inside of us to emerge from those challenges even stronger, even more self-aware, and even more powerful. Besides the personal transformation that Persephone went through, she also stands for becoming a guide. So whatever transformation we went through, we also become a guide for other people to go through that same transformation. When we become the guide for other people that helps them show the way through the darkness and back to the light. So just reflect how you feel about transformation. Do you resist it, or do you maybe even lose yourself in it? Just like Persephone, it's about embracing both parts of ourselves, the light and the dark aspect, being able to go through intense emotional transformation, but also coming back to the light world, to the upper world, and enjoy life like she was in the beginning of her myth and in a field of flowers. So it's important to note that she never lost her Korra essence, she just enhanced it by also becoming Persephone. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. I would love to know. Also, if you haven't watched it yet, maybe you want to watch the video on Hades, who kind of shows you a bigger picture when it comes to transformation. Otherwise, this is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.